and hand this over to our speakers. First, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Jackie Bode. I'm with the AAO Foundation. Thank you for joining us and taking some time out of your day today to hear about our awards program and process for the upcoming year. Our speakers today are Dr. Allareddy and Dr. Rody from the Park Committee. And so they will be going back and forth on the slides. But if you have any questions, we'll be watching the chat so we can, address them through that to make it a little bit easier. And always, after this is over, this is being recorded, so we will have it available on our website for you to refer to later. We'll also send it out by email, so you'll have it that way. And then as always, if you need anything or have any further follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to our office at any point. And we are here to help you and answer those questions through the process. So thank you again for joining us, and I will hand it over to our speakers.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, let's see. Okay, can you see the PowerPoint presentation? Then I'm going to put this in presentation mode.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you, Jackie, and thank you all for making time to attend this presentation. I'm Sath Allareddy. I'm one of the members of the park, and I've been in this role for the past 3 years. This is my 4th year, and I serve as the head of department of orthodontics at UIC. And along with me is my co-presenter, Dr. Wellington Rody, who is also a member of the park. He has been in the park for a lot more time than me. And he is the head of department of orthodontics and at University of Pittsburgh. So myself and Dr. Rody will be going back and forth during this presentation, and I will be controlling the presentation. So this is the overall objective of this presentation, to provide a high-level overview of the workshop goals, go over the AAOF mission and some recent accomplishments. We will go over the type of awards that are available for funding this upcoming cycle and the eligibility criteria for each of those awards. And we'll go over the required components of the applications, the review process, and the criteria that we use for ranking or scoring the applications, and then the roles of the different stakeholders involved in this application process. And we'll have a lot of time for questions and answers also. So why we want to do this workshop is to share the information on award categories and requirements, to provide an overview of the review process, the criteria for scoring the applications, and also how the funding decisions are made. The primary objective for this workshop is to improve the quality and completeness of the applications. And we want you to be successful in your application. And obviously, we want to further science, discovery, and education in orthodontics. And we also want to provide a solid basis on justification for further fundraising efforts from the AAOF. So the mission of the AAOF is to advance the orthodontic specialty by supporting quality education and research that leads to excellence in patient care, and by promoting orthodontic charitable giving. The AAOF funding ensures the future viability of our specialty by investing in the next generation of educators and researchers. Just a few tidbits about the impact of the AAOF. Since 1994, the AAOF has funded over 500 fellowships and research awards totaling close to $15 million. And what is very impressive is that 76% of the faculty supported by AAOF awards remain in full-time academics after 5 years. And a vast majority of the program directors and head of departments of orthodontics across the country were actually supported by AAOF at some point of time in their academic career. The past year, we received 45 proposals, and 26 of them were approved for funding. That's almost like a 58% success rate. So for the upcoming year, we have 3 areas where we are soliciting proposals. And just keep in mind that you can also have investigator-initiated research projects, or you could respond to these calls for proposals. The first is the business of orthodontic practice. So this is not very prescriptive. It's a very wide area, and there are several areas of interest that you could apply to study. And these include market-related forces, conditions of profitability, recruitment and conversion of patients, artificial intelligence, or like the impact of do-it-yourself orthodontics. So this is an area of interest to AAOF. The second area is studying impending issues in orthodontic practice. This is specifically related to the advances and utility of using teleorthodontics, artificial intelligence, and direct-to-consumer issues. And the third area, which is new to this coming funding cycle, is to study diversity, inclusion, and belonging in orthodontic education and careers. So you could submit proposals specifically in response to this call for proposals, or you could also have like investigator-initiated research projects. So what is new for the 2023 cycle? So there has been an increase in funding amounts for the OFTFA, the BRA, and the RAA awards. For the OFTFA, or the Orthodontic Faculty Development Fellowship Awards, we have increased the funding from $20,000 to $30,000, but we have still kept a cap of $20,000 on what you can have as a salary supplement. For the Biomedical Research Awards, we have increased the funding from $30,000 to $40,000. And for the Research Aid Awards, we have increased it from $5,000 to $6,000. For the Center Awards, we have still kept it at $25,000 per year. And the PARC application deadline has moved to October 28, 2022. Okay, now we'll go over the different award types, the eligibility criteria, and what the required components are. So for all award categories, the fundamental thing is for the AAOF is to support those faculty members who are committed to an academic career, either in teaching or in research in US and Canadian institutions. For the fellowship awards, which includes the OFTFA and the Postdoctoral Fellowship Award, and the Biomedical Research Award and the Center Award, the applicant has to be either a US or a Canadian citizen, or a permanent resident or a green card holder, or be in the process of obtaining a green card. And this has to be documented by a letter from your attorney, your head of department, or institutional official that you are in the process of obtaining a permanent residency either in US or in Canada. And then for each of these award categories, there is some distinction about eligibility with regards to full and part-time faculty members, and also as a resident. So as a resident or a part-time faculty member, you're eligible to apply for the Research Aid Award. And if you want to apply for the OFTFA, PFA, Biomedical Research Award, or Center Award, you have to be a full-time faculty member. And for this application cycle, we have gone totally virtual last year. So again, this year we'll continue with the same grant interface. You have to create a new account if you have not already created one. And if you applied for grants last year, then you could use the same login information. It's a very simple interface. You have to create an account which takes probably about like 5 to 10 minutes to type in your basic data. And then you have an account set up. And then you can upload your application materials. You can say it automatically saves whatever you upload. And you can always log off and go back in and then edit the application as needed. But once you're finished and you click the submit button, you cannot change your application after it has been submitted. So just keep that in mind. Okay, now with regards to the different awards that are available this upcoming cycle. So for the Orthodontic Faculty Development Fellowship, as I said earlier, the funding is up to $30,000 for each award. Typically, it's for a 1-year period, but you can seek a no-cost extension if your project is not complete within 1 year. And this is specifically designed for full-time faculty members who are in the early part of their career, which is the first 5 years of their appointment as a full-time faculty member. The postdoctoral fellowship awards are for 2 years, and there's a possibility for having it for a third year. And for each year, we give $50,000. So the eligibility criteria for this PFA award is you have to be a graduate of a CODA or a CDA accredited orthodontic program and have a PhD or an equivalent training. So equivalent training could be a DMSc or a DSc kind of degree. So the purpose of these mentored postdoctoral fellowship awards is to support the development of outstanding orthodontic research scientists. And the candidates should demonstrate a very strong potential to develop into external funded independent investigators, such as from the NIH. And only one proposal is allowed per orthodontic program. This is for the postdoctoral fellowship. For the orthodontic faculty development fellowship awards, there is no restrictions on number of proposals that can be submitted from a program. For the biomedical research award, the funding could be up to $40,000 for a one-year project. And this is for full-time faculty who have been a faculty member for 3 or more years. And you can be at any rank. You can be an instructor, assistant professor, associate professor, or a full professor. And multiple applications are allowed for each orthodontic program. And recently, we have actually enabled cleft craniofacial orthodontists who are full-time and accredited with an ACPA accredited team to also be eligible to apply for the biomedical research awards. Our thing is they have to demonstrate that they do have a teaching component in their job, and this has to be documented in a letter of support from their supervisor. For the Research Aid Awards, part-time orthodontic faculty and residents are eligible to apply for this award, and we give up to $6,000 per year, and this is for a duration of 1 year. So the criteria is the resident who, if it is a resident that's applying for this particular award, they have to be committed to pursue a part-time or a full-time academic career, and this has to be documented by a letter of support that comes from the head of department or the program director. They should not have received a Research Aid Award previously, and they should have at least 1 year of time to complete the project from the start of the award. So for example, the current funding cycle, the award cycle will start from July 1st, 2023. So they should be in the program for at least 1 year after that, after July 1st, 2023, so that they have sufficient time to complete this project. For the Center Award, we give up to $25,000 per year for a 3-year period. So there is no seniority limit here. The Center Awards are primarily meant to enhance collaborations within and between institutions. And there are 4 types of Center Awards, which will go over each of those categories as we move further in the presentation. So anyway, this is the decision tree for selecting the correct award category for which you would want to put in your application. So if you want to be an orthodontic faculty, if you are a part-time faculty member or a current resident who has an intent to become a faculty member in the future, be it either part-time or full-time, then you apply for the Research Aid Award. If you're currently a full-time faculty member, and if you're in the early part of your career, which is the first 5 years of your first appointment, you can apply for a postdoctoral fellowship award or like an orthodontic faculty development fellowship award. And if you're an experienced faculty, like at least 3 or more years of experience, then you apply for a biomedical research award. Okay, any questions up to this point of time?
There has been one question that was posted in the chat. The question is, if we could give a better definition of full-time faculty, are they considered by the AAOF as defined by the applicant's institution?
Yeah, that's right. So it depends upon the individual institution. So there are some institutions where you have to be 5 days a week to be considered a full-time faculty, and there are some institutions where you have to be 4 days a week to be considered as a full-time faculty member. And I think there is one institution that allows somebody to be called as a full-time faculty if they work at the institution for 3 days a week. So it depends upon the institutional definition of what they deem as a full-time faculty. So you have to get a letter of support from your department chair or or an institution official to document that you fulfill the criteria for being defined as a full-time faculty member as per those institutional policies.
And then we have another question. Craniofacial orthodontists, are they eligible to apply only for the Biomedical Research Award?
Okay, that's a good question. I never thought about that, but the thing is, the way it is defined is if you are for 3 or more years, then you're eligible for the Biomedical Research Award. Well, let's say, I think if you are like an early career craniofacial orthodontist, if you're a recent graduate within the first 5 years of your initial appointment, then you are eligible for the OFDFA award. Or if you're a part-time craniofacial orthodontist where probably you work for 2 or 3 days a week, but you do have some teaching commitment, then I would assume that you would be eligible for the research paid award.
Okay, great. Those were the, oh, sorry, one more.
Okay, yeah, sure. We have a lot of time for questions, yeah.
Number of years of experience. Is it applicable only to U.S. teaching experience?
So this will be your first appointment in a U.S. orthodontic program.
Okay, I think we can keep moving.
Okay, Dr. Rody, do you want to go forward with your part of the presentation, and then I'll control the slides. So you can just say next, I'll move on to the next slide.
Yes, please. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thanks again for joining this workshop. My goal now is to discuss in more details the required components of your application and hopefully give you some helpful suggestions. Next. So during your application process, there will be a component where you'll be required to describe your previous AAOF awards and outcomes, certainly if it is applicable to you. Remember that this session is extremely important for many reasons. First of all, it's an important outcome measure for AAOF and donors. And secondly, it will give the reviewers the ability to better understand your academic accomplishments as well as your career progression. So don't be shy in this section and describe outcomes from the previous awards in detail, such as publications, presentations, follow-up grants, internal grants that you have received as a result of your prior AAOF grant or AAOF award. Next. So in the budget session, all eligible expenses should be itemized and justified. Make sure that you follow specific guidelines, especially what is allowed and limits. By and large, travel is allowed only for attendance at professional conferences if you are presenting the results of your work. And in the case of fellowships, okay, you may be able to request some funding for travel to attend, educational workshops. And also there is a cap for travel that you should pay attention when you are structuring your budget. It's also important for you to let us know if the funds are requested only for part of the budget. If this is the case, we need to know the amount from other sources, as well as the source of other funds, okay? Again, it can be your departmental support, your research startup, just to name a few. Next. So for fellowship applications only, it's important to note that if a large portion of AAOF support is sought for faculty stipend, then you have to list the alternative source of funding for research-related activities. Remember that reviewers usually assess the suitability of your proposed activities, as well as the ability of your institution to provide all the resources that you need to complete your project and to be successful. So provide as much information as possible. Next. So biographical sketches are required for all individuals that are listed in the title page. AAOF does follow the NIH format for biosketches, and a template is provided in the application material. The application package the biographical sketch should not exceed 4 pages for each investigator, and it is subdivided in 4 parts: the personal statement, position and honors, your contributions to science, where you can list your publications and your research support and grants that are ongoing for the past 3 years. In this area, I would like to emphasize the personal statement section. Okay, as you know, this section is not a one-size-fits-all category. Okay, so use this space to tell us about your career, your aspirations, your skills, and also explain why you are well suited for your role in that particular project. This is extremely important because, you know, that's the section that allows you to sell your project and to sell yourself. Next. So there is a section in the application where you need to describe the roles and responsibilities of each individual named in title page, as well as the percentage effort that each applicant will devote to the AAOF project. By and large, if you plan to devote 1 day a week to the application, this will be equivalent to a 20% effort, and so on. So we use this figure to assess whether or not you can complete your research on time. And again, it's important for you to follow up award-specific instructions. For instance, for the fellowships, the OFDFA, for example, you have to use this page to explain how the mentor will support the applicant, the plans for meeting between the mentor and the mentee, and also the mentorship background and skills of your advisor. Next. So after all is done, finally we get to the science of the application, which is entitled the proposed plan. The plan has 4 required subcomponents. The abstract and the timetable have a 1-page limit, whereas the reference session has no page limit. So feel free to cite as many references as you wish. The project plan itself is where you describe your research project or your career development plan if you're applying for a fellowship. Page limits and directions for the project plan may vary between award types, so you have to pay close attention to that. Okay, and also if your application is a resubmission, you do need to write an introductory page. Next. So please note that AAOF highly encourages resubmissions of previously rejected application, as long as you have made the changes to address the previous reviewer's concerns. So do not forget to include your previous AAOF PARC review in your application package, because we will need that for resubmissions. So the introduction page does have a 1-page limit, and please ensure that you summarize all the substantial additions, deletions, and changes to the previous application, and include a response to all of the weaknesses raised by previous reviewers. Letters of support are required from all individuals directly involved in the project. For instance, your co-investigators, collaborators, key personnel. We also highly encourage you to obtain letters of reference from core facility directors and also biostatistical support. However, we discourage letters from people that are not named as referees or that are not directly involved in the project. These letters are usually unnecessary and do not carry heavy weight during the review process. And also, I'd like to point out that there are award-specific instructions for letters of references that will be discussed very soon by Dr. Allareddy. The final section is the appendix that doesn't have page limits. Here you need to report research compliance approvals that are applicable to your project, such as IRB for human research and ICUC for vertebrate animals. If you haven't obtained approval yet, you can list as pending, but if approval has already been granted, please make sure to include the notice of approval in your application package. And although not required, AAOF also allows the applicants to include up to 3 publications as long as the manuscripts are directly relevant to the application. Have some time for questions now.
Don't have any posted questions, so I think we can keep going.
Okay. I'll go over the specifics of the project plans for the OFDFA and the PFA Fellowship Awards. So for the Orthodontic Faculty Development Fellowship Awards, the project plan should be limited to 6 pages. And the Postdoctoral Fellowship Application Awards, the project plans should be limited to 10 pages. So either the OFDFA or the PFA, we need to have like 4 required developmental plans. And these include the educational plan, the clinical skills plan, the teaching skills plan, and the research plan. But for both OFDFA and PFA, for the educational plan, clinical skills plan, and the teaching skills plan, you have to limit it to within 1 page. But the research plan could be 3 pages for the OFDFA application and up to 7 pages for the PFA application. So briefly speaking about the educational plan, what we want to see is we want you to describe any educational program in which you'll be engaged in over the study period. And this should include a list of specific courses, seminars that you will be taking, the credit hours anticipated, and if this will result in a degree or a certificate being awarded. So we are looking at how these didactic activities will actually enhance the applicant's career as you move forward. For the teaching skills plan, please describe the plan for development of teaching abilities. This should include a description of any formal kind of course, teaching coursework or mentorship or peer review activities or any participation in workshops that you will engage over the study period. For the clinical skills plan, describe the development regarding clinical skills and patient care. And this should include, for example, coursework specific to clinical competencies, and completion of board certification would be a good example too. For the research plan, describe any planned or ongoing research activities. And if research is a significant component of your career development plan, then we would want the research description should have a hypothesis-driven or a hypothesis-generating proposal with the background, specific aims, preliminary studies, design and methods, and anticipated data and statistical analysis plans. With regards to the letters of support, as Dr. Rody earlier mentioned, there is no specific page limit, but get at least 3 letters of support and choose references who can describe your abilities and future potential and qualifications to pursue like an academic career and have a good career trajectory. And have letters from individuals named on the title pages. For example, the principal, mentor, co-investigators, consultants, get letters from them, which will sort of provide verification of their participation and the plans for support and how they are going to help you move forward with the deliverables for your project. And get a letter from your institutional official documenting that sufficient facilities and resources will be available for you to successfully pursue the developmental plans that you have in place. And from your department chair or head of department, get the letter to verify your eligibility for that particular award category. And you would also want to have like protected time and support for pursuing the activities that you have planned. And most importantly, you need to have a confirmed appointment as a full-time faculty as of July 1st of the funding period, which will be July 1st, 2023 for the upcoming funding cycle. With regards to the project plan and the areas of emphasis, For the OFTFA, you could have one or more areas for emphasis. You could probably focus more on teaching and research. But for the PFA award, the research must be your focus. We want to see that you're able to clearly develop or establish a niche in a particular field of endeavor. And then provide sufficient details for evaluation, and then do talk about your history and previous accomplishments. And make sure that you have your applications reviewed by your advisor. They should review, mentor, and provide adequate feedback, and have a solid application in place. As I briefly alluded to earlier, for the postdoctoral fellowship award, only one proposal is allowed per orthodontic program per year. As a PI, you could apply for both the OFDFA and the PFA awards, but only one will be funded. And current residents can apply if they have a full-time faculty position starting July 1st of the funding year, which is again July 1st of 2023 for the upcoming funding cycle. And this letter should come from your department chair. Now, with regards to stipend or cash gift for salary support, for the OFTFA and the PFA, the AAOF is absolutely fine having these monies as your salary supplement. But you have to check with your institute if your institute allows a salary supplement. So salary supplement means, like, for example, if you get an OFTFA award, you can budget up to $20,000 of the $30,000 that you get as a salary supplement. Or let's say your salary is like $100,000. Then you can have that additional $20,000 as a salary supplement. Some institutions will allow this, but several institutions do not allow a salary supplement. So if you get the OFTFA award and you have budgeted $20,000 for salary, that $20,000 is not additional salary supplement for you. It becomes a part of a salary support. So your salary will still be at $100,000, but the $20,000 will come from AAOF as opposed to that money being actually coming to you personally. So please check with your institutional policies and guidelines, and talk to your dean or dean for research to know more about the salary supplement kind of things for your institution, or specific for your institution. And regardless of that, we need to have letters of understanding from you as well as from the institution with regards to the salary part of it, and as well also as with regards to the deliverables for the project. For the biomedical research award, the page limit is up to 10 pages. And for the research aid award, the page limit for the project plans is up to 5 pages. And for both the biomedical and the research aid awards, we would want to see the following sections: the background and significance of your project. And if you have very preliminary studies, that would be great if you have some pilot data. We want to see a very comprehensive experimental design methods and statistical analysis, and what outcomes you actually expect from the proposed study. And if there are any issues that come up during the study, like what alternative approaches are there, what if the outcomes are not as expected, and how to troubleshoot. We want to see that you're able to actually sort of foresee some of the issues that could potentially come up and how you're going to handle those issues. So these are the components that have to go into your project plan for the biomedical research award, and as well as for your research aid award. And again, with regards to the letters of support, there are no page limits, but get letters of support from individuals that are listed on your title page. This includes your co-investigators, consultants. Verify that they're going to participate in the study and how they're going to support you. We need to have a letter of support from an institutional official to document that you'll have sufficient facilities and resources for doing the project that is being planned. And from your head of department or the chair, you need to get a letter of support confirming that if you're applying for the biomedical research award, you have to get a letter confirming that you're a full-time faculty with at least 3 years of experience. If you're a cleft craniofacial orthodontist, you have to get confirmation that you have some kind of teaching activities or component in your job. And if you're a research aid award applicant, if you're a resident, your head of department has to sort of emphasize your interest in pursuing a future academic career and then you'll have sufficient time to complete the project that you are planning. And again, if you're a part-time faculty, you have to get a letter from your head of department documenting that you are actually a part-time faculty in the department. Now, a few other information about the Biomedical Research Awards. As I said earlier, you could have investigator-initiated research topics, and what we want to see is a few publications coming out of your project. And then if you get solid preliminary data, we would really want to see that getting translated into external fundings through NIH or any other NSF or any other funding organization. And here we emphasize strongly on the scientific merit. For the Biomedical Research Awards, there are again no limitations on the number of proposals that can be submitted by an orthodontic program each year, and there are no limits or caps on how many can actually get funded per school per year. As a principal investigator, you can apply for both the Biomedical Research Award and the Postdoctoral Fellowship Award, but only one will be funded. And you cannot apply as a principal investigator or a co-principal investigator on more than one application in the same category. So for example, you cannot apply as a PI or co-PI for two Biomedical Research Awards on that same year. Only you can apply as a PI or co-PI on only one application. So with regards to the center awards, there are 4 types of center awards. Type 1 is to establish a center of investigation. For example, if you're a very talented faculty, but then your institution does not have the resources to support your field of endeavor, then you can apply for a center of investigation award. This is the type 1 center award. This is predominantly more like seed funds to acquire, for example, specialized equipment that will help you establish a center of investigation. This is type 1. For type 2 awards, if you already have like an established center of investigation, but you require funds to support ongoing research, then you apply for a type 2 center award. And type 3 center awards are more for special collections or databases. If you want to establish a database of, like, for example, like ectodermal dysplasia cases, then you apply for a type 3 award. And for type 4, it is more for collaborative interinstitutional symposia, workshops to expedite discoveries and technology transfer. The project plan for the center award should be restricted to 10 pages. And obviously the content is going to depend upon the type of center awards that you are going to apply, whether it is type 1, type 2, type 3, or type 4 awards. What we want to see is that you demonstrate a genuine cooperative and collaborative undertaking. It should not merely be an expanded version of your biomedical research award. Okay, next we'll go over the review process and the criteria that we use to score the applications. So this is a schema of the different stakeholders and how they interact with each other over the course of this application process. So obviously the first stakeholder is the applicant and the institution. So you apply for funding and perform the proposed activities. You agree to the terms and provide a progress and final report to the AAOF. And the senior vice president and staff of AAOF will be responsible for all the administrative aspects of the program. And they help with fundraising, grant administration, and they are the only point of contact for the applicants. And any inquiry about the program should be addressed to the AAOF senior VP and the staff, which is basically Jackie and Cheryl. The AAOF works with the AAOF senior VP and the staff. They work with the park committee. We have 9 members in the park panel. And if there is a need for like an expert in one particular area, then we can also have like ad hoc members within the panel to review applications. So the primary responsibilities for the park committee is to review and score the applications and then recommend which applications could get funded. Again, we only recommend for funding. The final funding decision is actually made by the AAOF board of directors, who work with AAOF senior VP and the staff. So just the process flow, the way it works. The AAOF staff, they prepare the award materials. and they receive all the applications. And as I said earlier, all the applications will be submitted via like an online portal. No more paper-based applications moving forward. They review all the applications. They look for if the applications met the deadline, eligibility criteria for each specific award type, and how complete the applications are. Any incomplete, ineligible, or late applications will be triaged without further review from PARC. And then the PARC committee, we have a chair of the PARC committee. And what happens typically is like we get the applications and then we sort them by area of expertise. And then we look at which of the PARC members has got that area of expertise. And we want to make sure that there is no conflict of interest. And we are very strict about conflict of interest policies. And we have like a guideline on what is defined as a conflict of interest. And we strictly adhere to that. So once the conflict of interest are removed from the remaining pool of reviewers, what we do is for each application, we assign a primary reviewer and a secondary reviewer. And then they score the applications based on some set criteria that we have. And each application is given a score of 9 to 1. So 9 being the best and 1 being the worst. If there is more than a 2-point difference between the primary and the secondary reviewer, then we invite a third reviewer to score the application. And then we discuss the application. If it is within 2-point difference, then a third reviewer is not assigned. And then what happens is after all the applications are scored individually by the PARC members, we meet in St. Louis if it is going to be like an in-person event, like how it was until 2 years back. Of course, over the past 2 years, we actually did the meeting virtually, but I think in 2023 January, it is going to be a hybrid kind of meeting. So during the discussion stage, what happens is like we pick an application, and then whoever has got a conflict of interest with that particular application, they are asked to leave the discussion room. The primary reviewer presents the application, followed by the secondary reviewer. And then they also tell the committee what the score range is. So it could be from 4 to 9 or 6 to 9, whatever it is. And then we discuss the application. And then the other committee members who do not have a conflict of interest, they score, they give their individual score to that particular application. They can also score out of the range of what was provided by the primary and the secondary reviewers. If they score out of the range, then they have to give an explanation on why they scored it out of the range. And then what happens is these scores are actually given to Cheryl, and they're not linked to each application. So if I scored an application, I know what score I gave, but I will not know what score Dr. Rody gave or what score Sylvia or Sharon gave. So all those scores are only private to Cheryl, who sums up all the scores and then gives an average, and they're not linked to any applicant's name at all. So none of the PARC members will know who scored what on each of those applications. And then we look at the scoring range, and then we have a cutoff for that particular year, and then we recommend those applications for funding. And then the board of directors will actually make the final funding decision. And then the applicant will receive the funding decision and then a critique of their application. Okay. Dr. Rody, do you want to go over the review criteria?
Yes. Thank you, Sath. So as previously said, during the PARC meeting, your application will receive an overall impact score ranging from 9, the best, to 1, worst. Okay, the score review criteria are here listed and include significance, investigators, innovation, approach, your environment, and also your productivity of previous funding if applicable to you. Okay. In addition, we look at your budget and research compliance approvals. And please note that we highly encourage all the reviewers to categorize the strengths and weaknesses of your application as major, moderate, and minor, so that you can get a better understanding of your assessment while you're reading your review. Next. Well, this table is kind of self-explanatory, so I'll give you some time to read it over. So basically, a score of 9 is given to an exceptionally strong application with mainly no weaknesses, whereas a score of 1 is considered poor application with very few strengths and numerous major weaknesses. I can pause for questions now.
We have 2 in our chat box. So the first one is for the BRA. Should we have completed prior research in the area of investigation?
The question is if you had to have completed research in the area of investigation?
Prior to applying for a BRA?
No, not necessarily. If you have a well-rounded project, okay, and you have a well-rounded experimental design and novel hypothesis, okay, and if it's a new area of research for you, okay, this is okay.
Okay, and just for the rest of the group, in case they have this question as well, but does the applicant have to be an orthodontist to be eligible for the BRA, or can it be applied for by a basic science researcher?
So for the biomedical research award, it is not necessary that you have to be an orthodontist, but you have to be affiliated to an orthodontic department. For the PFA award, you need to have completed an accredited orthodontic program, like accredited by either the CODA or the Canadian Dental Association, and need to have a PhD or an equivalent also.
Okay, those are the only 2 questions at this point in the queue.
Okay, so let's move forward then. One, I think we skipped one.
Oh.
So pretty much in this session, my goal is going to try to give you some tips and describe the role of your mentor in ensuring your success. Next. So the applicants usually trip up on common problems that are here listed. First, quality of application. As I said, we do favor well-rounded applications that present a very clear methodology to test a novel hypothesis. Also keep in mind that formatting mistakes and lack of all required material will either disqualify your application or will reduce the enthusiasm of reviewers to understand what you are proposing. So my advice is certainly obey the deadlines, pay close attention to the AAOF guidelines, and make sure that you format your application accordingly. Another important tip is for you to choose the funding mechanism that fits you best. For instance, I mean, if you are a junior full-time faculty member with a PhD in the first 5 years of employment, certainly you should be applying for the PFA, okay, because your chances are high there. As previously mentioned, do not forget to list accomplishments from previous AAOF funding, if applicable to you, and also make sure that you return progress and final reports by the deadline, okay, because we look into that when you're reviewing your AAOF funding history. The mentorship plan is extremely important to your application, so my advice is to choose your mentors and consultants very carefully. Typically, they will be faculty that have knowledge of your academic performance or research mentors that have time to review your application and provide meaningful feedback to ensure that you are successful. Some of the best practices are here listed. It's strongly recommended that you begin 6 months prior to the submission deadline. Review the awards material carefully. They are usually posted by July 1st in the AAOF website. Choose a research topic that's novel and provide a well-rounded experimental design to test your hypothesis. Preliminary data is not required, but it can be very helpful if available. So keep this in mind. For career development awards, such as especially the OFDFA, do not only focus on your research experiment, but also make it very clear to the reviewers how you're planning to develop yourself as a teacher and an academic orthodontist. This piece is very important for the OFDFAs. So it never hurts to emphasize over and over how important it is to choose your mentors carefully. We definitely want to see you surrounded by peers who are vested in your career development. So present and discuss your proposal with your mentors and consultants frequently and have them revise your application package. Okay. A final piece of advice is to always pay attention to details. Certainly, a well-organized application always makes an impression on the reviewers. So pay attention to the grammar, spelling, make sure that the contents are placed where they should be placed. So for the year 2023, AAOF will be accepting applications for the junior faculty category, the OFDFAs and the PFA. Also for the BRA, if you are an academician with 3 or more years of experience, Center Awards, and the Research Aid Award. Awards not offered in 2023 include the Education Innovation Award and the Program Award for support of workshops, symposia, and lectures. The AAOF goal to the future is to continue to build on quality of applications, discovering orthodontics, faculty development strategies, and new processes for identifying calls for proposals. In addition, AAOF is planning for the implementation of the AAOF strategic plan. Finally, keep in mind that AAOF would like to fund more novel research in the areas that have shown slow development over the years. Moreover, AAOF encourages research in the areas of machine learning and artificial intelligence that will enhance orthodontic diagnosis, treatment planning strategies, individualized mechanics, personalized orthodontic treatment, orthodontic marketing strategies, just to name a few. Well, we hope this workshop has been useful to you. I'd like to acknowledge our wonderful AAOF staff here, Jackie, Mindy, and Cheryl, recently joined by Jennifer, and who helped prepare this presentation. And we do have some time for questions and answers now, but do not hesitate to contact them if you need further information down the road. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess we'll open up the floor for any further questions.
Yes, I'm looking at the chat. So the first question that came up is asking where the workshop will be posted. It's being recorded, so it will be posted on our website, and then to those that registered for the workshop, we will also email it to you. So both ways you'll be able to see it. Are there any other questions? And the link to the website that has the, that will have this workshop was just posted in the chat. I don't see any other questions at this point. So please feel free to connect with us if you think of anything else, and I'm sure we'll be hearing from you all soon. So thank you. Have a good weekend.
Everyone, good weekend.